everyone, and welcome to The Hash. We're bringing you all the latest and greatest in crypto and culture. My name is Naomi Brockwell, and we have on the show today Will Foxley, George Cludas, and Christy Harkin. Welcome to the show, guys. To start it off, let's address the big news in the room, which is passing two very important all-time highs. So Bitcoin soared past $68,000 for the first time. Ether also set a new all-time high, passing $4,800 according to CoinDesk. Giant news. Let's just have a little bit of a chat about that before we move on to our first story. Will, I'm going to throw it straight to you to start off with.
Number go up. That's all I have to say. Just more
system's operational.
It does. NGU is in full effect. I will say that, like, compared to January, February, March, this is much less exciting this time around. I don't know why that is. Like, this was all kind of predicted by all the mega heads out there. This is just my experience. So I'm just talking my story here, Naomi. Okay. But maybe it's more exciting for you. But January, February, March, it just felt so much more exhilarating. I don't know if it's just because we've been near this number before, or we had never been in that 20 to 60K range in the history of Bitcoin before. Maybe that's why it felt so exciting. And, obviously we had that pullback, and obviously we had this build up again. And maybe that's why it's not as cool. But it does seem like we're on a threshold for something pretty spectacular going into the end of the year. Amy, do you just totally disagree with me there? Are you like more hyped?
Yeah, so I just wanted to say for the record that Will's personal understanding and feelings toward this are objectively false. This is incredibly exciting, and his experience is wrong. So I just wanted to put that on the record so that people don't get confused about that. You're such a downer, Will. This is giant news. This is so exciting. It just doesn't feel...
It's pretty cool. I'm not disagreeing with you. And it's probably like a more healthy position for higher highs. But at the same time, I don't know. Like between 20 and 60K, we'd never been there. In January, it was just like energy right into your bones, right? It just felt amazing. Someone else has to back me up with this. I see some.
Yeah, Will needs a hug.
We were waiting so long for a price breakout in the last few years that when it finally happened, we were just like, holy God, thank you so much. Been sitting here on this Bitcoin or whatever, waiting and waiting and waiting for this thing to happen. And then it finally did. So yeah, that made it super exciting. Now that we're on our way up, and we're not even as far up as people said we were going to go, now it's just sort of like, okay, and what have you done for me lately? And now we're kind of, getting...
It's the human experience.
I talked to the person who introduced me to Bitcoin, and he's been in it for so long. And I would echo what he said is it just feels, I'm numb now. There's just numbers on the screen. He remembers when it was valueless. So I'm more about freedom goes up. How about that?
I will say that over the weekend, my friends and I have taken to like putting up giant projectors in the backyard in front of a bonfire and just putting the Bitcoin ticker on there. That's how excited I am. Like, this is a financial revolution. I can't get enough of it, but I'll bring you guys on board. Don't worry. We'll get there. I'll send you some of that excitement and we'll make it. But let's throw it to you, Will, for the first story.
Yeah, here's some real news to get hyped on for this morning. Not this number go up stuff, but Apple CEO Tim Cook revealed this morning that he has invested in cryptocurrency. Which cryptocurrency he declined to comment, and how long ago he chose to invest. He also declined to comment. And lastly, Apple itself is not investing in crypto at this time. But it does speak a lot to the market itself that the CEO of Apple has some cryptocurrency exposure. He said that he sees it just as a part of a diversified portfolio at this point, which itself could kind of open up the floodgates for more people being comfortable with it. Saw in the spring when Tesla started buying Bitcoin and Elon Musk started buying Bitcoin, that kind of opened up the floodgates itself to see an S&P 500 listed company investing in cryptocurrency, gave it some legitimacy. Apple obviously has a pretty big stamp of approval sticker you can throw on anything. And if Tim Cook is investing in it, then your grandma surely can as well. Amy, what's your thoughts on that story?
I mean, I think that this is always how the trickle starts. You have the CEO getting a little bit interested, you find out that they're a holder, and then you know that things have been put in motion, and whether it's just an idea percolating and they're thinking, how can we incorporate this? But it's always about getting the CEO on board first. And so it seems that Tim Cook has, if he's declining to comment about when he got involved, it's probably a good move. I think people would be going back over like price charts and being like, oh, there's a big spike. I wonder if that's his address. And that's the problem with having everything on an open ledger where this thing can be tracked to a great extent. But I think it's incredibly exciting. Tim Cook, Apple they've just done some fantastic stuff, also some bad stuff. We won't go into all of the scanning, but I'm generally a big fan of Apple and the way that they've brought privacy to the masses in a way that no one else has really achieved. They've made incredible strides for privacy. And I wonder if they can do the same for cryptocurrency. It would be awesome if they found a way to incorporate this. And Apple Pay, I mean, it started off with a trickle. People were like, I don't really know how to use this. And no one was really using it. And then now it's just pervasive. Everyone's accepting it. Everyone's using it. And so if they can find a way to incorporate this stuff down the line, that's really exciting news. But George, I think I saw your hand go up.
Yeah, I think something that we aren't really talking about, this is Tim Cook, the Apple CEO, not Steve Jobs or Steve Wozniak, the Apple founders. Steve Jobs, if he came out and said, oh, I hold Bitcoin, everyone would sort of be, okay, he's sort of this esoteric guy, right? And yes, he created this amazing company, very revolutionary, but everyone would be like, okay, he's kind of a crazy guy. He has this weird diet. He microdoses XYZ drugs. He's kind of a weird guy. But this is Tim Cook, the Duke MBA educated businessman who built $1 trillion business, took this awesome idea into $1 trillion business. Now this is like, oh, it's okay to invest in these type of things. And this isn't some crazy guy. This is Tim Cook. So it's kind of I think it says what Will is saying there, where just, your grandma could buy it now.
I'm just more surprised. I would be more surprised to find out he hadn't put money into Bitcoin at this point. I mean, as you said, he might not be Steve Wozniak, but Woz has been in it a while. So this is not new territory for Apple types to be going for. And Apple did have some pay stuff, the Apple Pay rather, with payments being a big deal. I think that it's just, he's sort of like, yeah, okay, I've got crypto, what of it? Doesn't everybody at this point, is how I feel about it. I'm not sure that's what he was saying, but I'm kind of like that with most big figures.
It is a big turnaround from what he said in the past, though. So let's look at some of his comments historically. There was an article in Cult of Mac titled, Why Apple CEO Tim Cook Hates Cryptocurrency. This was 2019. So we know he wasn't investing in 2019. It was sometime after that. So he's not like some $1 Bitcoin whale there. But he says, I deeply believe that money must remain in the hands of states. He says, I am not comfortable with the idea that a private group creates a competing currency. A private company does not have to seek to gain power in this way. Money, like defense, must remain in the hands of the state. It is in the heart of their mission. He misses the mark so badly in this. I'm just glad that he's had a change of heart and decided to realize how this is such a freedom enabler for people all over the globe. We're not just thinking about the US here and whether he wants his government to, protect its citizens, as, a lot of people buy into that narrative. Perhaps he's starting to see the effects and the ripple effects of having money or the separation of money and state, which is an incredibly powerful thing that we're moving towards. So I'm just glad he's changed his mind, but Will, I'll throw back to you. Or if Will doesn't want final comments and throw it to the next article, I will. Let's throw it to Christy instead.
It's Christy's time to shine.
So this week,
way to miss the handle, Will.
Last night, are we there?
We're there, Christy. Sorry.
Yeah. Last night, CoinDesk reporter Lisa Gritzi wrote that Discord CEO and founder Jason Citron posted a screenshot of what appears to be Discord settings that allow users to connect to Ethereum, saying, probably nothing. The screenshot also shows the option to connect using Ethereum wallet MetaMask or blockchain agnostic wallet connector Wallet Connect. And other people have retweeted it. And of course, below various tweets come the typical backlash we're starting to see from various community members about how awful NFTs are for the environment and how irresponsible any company that wants to integrate NFT or crypto support is, etc. Steam, for example, began banning games that feature NFTs and crypto from their site last month. Another popular job board for developers banned job postings associated with development of blockchain and crypto projects. So the community reaction we're seeing to Discord potentially getting into the NFT, or at least connecting with Ethereum somehow. That backlash is kind of par for the course these days. If you don't know what Discord is, you probably do, but I love this Quartz description. It's picture a combination of Slack, AOL, Instant Messenger, Zoom, and a sketchy chat room, and you have something approximating Discord. So this is not an unusual thing. Now, it started off as a gaming community place where you could talk about games, and it had some really great user interface. It still does. It's pretty fantastic. But it has seen a lot of growth in the crypto community itself. Prominent communities who live on Discord. You'd have Axie Infinity with 800,000 members, Sushi with 150,000 members, Solana 86,000, Loot, Uniswap, Bored Ape Yacht Club 69,000 members on Discord, with new NFT projects, DAOs, and DeFi protocols launching seemingly every day. We wouldn't be surprised to see Discord break the 20 million server mark by year's end. That I got from a fellow who actually retweeted this, and he has written quite extensively about Packy McCormack, who's written quite extensively about Discord and decided to, imagine the place, go up and take their logo and run with it. And he outlined Discord's history, growth, and potential for the future. And he sees this whole Web3 strategy, including crypto, especially. In fact, I think a few weeks ago or last month, they had an ad up on their site that said, Discord and Doge walk into a bar, take the survey. Who knows what Discord is going to do?
Yeah, I'll jump in there. I just want to read out the first reply to this tweet that had this screenshot of the Ethereum integration or possible integration, because it's wonderful. This person says, man, can't wait to tell my friends that Discord is encouraging pyramid schemes at grand cost to the environment and persuading them to cancel their Nitro subscriptions and use competing platforms. Thanks for the heads up. It's like people are so far removed from what this decentralization of trust has enabled. It's fascinating. And so many people are just lapping up mainstream narrative from years ago still. They're not actually looking at how this can affect people. I mean, I think a lot of people are very insular. They're looking at their situation where they're fine to pay using their US dollars and with their Visa card. And it doesn't occur to them that things might be different in other countries. Also, it doesn't occur to them to think beyond, what we understand as digital assets today and how you can eliminate the need for corrupt middlemen in governments, states where you have these corrupt governments in charge of handing out licenses and all kinds of things like land titles. When you could potentially have these as digital assets on a blockchain, it can actually, get rid of a lot of headache. Now we're moving into this NFT world. Again, we're re-envisioning what digital assets are in an era when everything is moving digital. The fact that people can't see beyond their nose is always shocking to me, but it shouldn't surprise me, but it always does. I mean, this takes this that has so many likes and retweets. It baffles me. Y'all need to catch up, do some research. Yeah. This is craziness that you're saying. I'm going to throw it to George.
I actually do have a small point. I have a small point, and they're not long. So anecdotally, the gamers I know are altcoin or shitcoin peddlers anyway. So I'm surprised that there's backlash.
Don't use that word on this show.
Don't use that word on that show. I will. I will freak out.
You can use it with me though, because it's fair.
Okay, altcoin peddlers. I'm sorry, but I'm gonna put my tinfoil hat on now, and Will probably understands this point. I think the gamers are just mad that their GPUs are so expensive now because they're using it to mine Ethereum. But they should know that, we might move to proof of stake. So once it moves to proof of stake, then get all those cheap GPUs eventually. So anyway, throw it to Will.
You still get mad at Solana anyway, even though that's proof of stake. They still think that's going to be blowing up the oceans. So,
True. Will, go ahead, man.
I just want to applaud Naomi for somehow bringing this Discord conversation around to states' rights and that whole conversation.
Thank you.
That was an impressive pivot to say the least. I will say that this Discord Web3 integration is pretty interesting in the fact that you do have this native feature for moving money between people in a peer-to-peer manner. And I think that's the whole benefit of something like Ethereum or something built on Ethereum. I saw a comment the other day on Twitter saying like, hey, Bitcoin or blockchain at Bitcoin was kind of like the mantra of 2017. And now we have like this Web3 mantra. And a lot of people are saying these are the same two things. They're not any different. Well, I think something like this Discord integration shows that they are two different entities. If you have an integration like Discord, which is a community channel, and money into that natively, well, you have something new that we haven't had before. The blockchain at Bitcoin thing, that didn't really have legs at all. That's why it died in 2017. This has more promise because it is pairing money and communication together natively and really simply, which I think for gaming at the very least makes a ton of sense. I saw a few heads cock when I said that, which I don't know how to take that, but I think what I said was very smart.
I'll challenge it later.
There for the break.
I'll challenge it later.
My head cocking was, why not both? Why not blockchain and Bitcoin? They can live simultaneously and both provide different kinds of value. But on that note, let's talk about some of that value. We're going to be moving to DEXs after the break, looking at this move towards a more decentralized future coming up in a moment. Stick around.
CoinDesk Indexes, the market standard for crypto assets since 2014. Our trusted data powers billions in publicly traded funds. CoinDesk Indexes are the standard used by institutions, and they're the key for investors looking to understand and access crypto markets.
As the company that launched the world's first ever Bitcoin ETF, we at Purpose chose the CoinDesk Bitcoin Price Index, the XBX, to price our assets.
CoinDesk Indexes enabled the early adopters to build crypto investment vehicles, and they're already trusted by a new generation of global investors.
Welcome back to The Hash. We're going to dive into the world of DEXs. So a report came out from Chainalysis that said that DEXs have grown the most as competition amongst crypto exchanges intensifies. They said that DEXs have grown massively since 2019. We saw the surge of things that were kind of within these walled gardens. Like you had these DEXs within Solana, you had DEXs within Ethereum. We've had DEXs, within all kinds of like different chains. And now we're moving into this multi-chain world of DEXs as well. It was really, it seems like Uniswap was really the one that catalyst this movement when they kind of put what Bancor had invented, this idea of this automated market maker, and then they just popularized it and Uniswap just went off. And so it's just catalyzed this incredible surge in interest towards DEXs. And before that, if there's always this idea, like from the early days of crypto, we wanted DEXs, we understood the value of them, that centralized exchanges were a pressure point for governments to shut down. We didn't like the idea of centralized control, all of that. So it's always been this idea of, DEXs, the idea is great. You had kind of like atomic swaps tried to fill that vacuum. There's no liquidity in these areas. They're very difficult, hard to use, a lot of friction. And then these automated market makers came around from 2019. There's been a boom. So this report from Chainalysis dives into that and the surge. But I'm going to throw it straight to the group just to get your take on where you think that this is going. So Christy, let's start off with you.
One of the things that I just love with Chainalysis is when they describe the report separated the exchanges into 6 categories: centralized exchanges, DEXs, high-risk exchanges with few know-your-customer requirements. And I just love the way that they like to classify any exchange that doesn't have, intensive, obtrusive, know your customer requirements as high risk. And I'm thinking, who's the risk for? Because when you're talking about somebody who's trying to protect privacy, for whatever reason, that's actually a pretty low risk exchange. And thank you, Chainalysis, for pointing that out. So that was my big takeaway from it. And I think that more and more people are starting to understand the value of the high risk, low risk, depending on your attitude, way of using a DEX, because really is it important that every last thing that we do gets monitored by a government? And I know I'm kind of preaching to the choir there, Naomi, but that was my takeaway from that piece. Yes. My one chance to argue with you, and I'm like totally agreeing. So there you go. Next.
No, it's such a good point. George, what are your thoughts on all this?
I say good. And anecdotally, I am someone who was inexplicably banned from Coinbase like a week or two ago.
I saw.
For no apparent reason. I assume I haven't done anything illegal, but
What did you do?
Actually,
and now he's just been banned from this chat.
My
Well,
bad,
restore
came
you
in.
while his internet.
Long arm.
I'm back.
Coinbase
Okay.
will have no disrespect.
Yeah, Brian heard what I said. I'm sorry, sir. Sorry, I'm not sure where I was lost there, but I was inexplicably banned from Coinbase, and I'm in no way a trader. I rarely use DEXs. I'm caveating that I use them for research purposes since my boss is on one of these panels up here. Chrissy's my boss, technically. And it has felt like the future. I'm not a trader, but it's great to be able to use a DEX. And I came from a banking background when they actually enabled new KYC laws for some of the beneficial owners of companies when they were getting loans. And these are people who had 20-year relationships with the bank, had been getting loans for 20 years. And all of a sudden, I had to ask them for their driver's license. Why do I need their driver's license? We've known for 20 years that they're not money launderers. They don't do anything. This is just getting in the way of just smooth operations. So I welcome them. DEXs are awesome. They're great. And especially as these centralized exchanges are on this race to zero, right? We see even Fidelity and Charles Schwab and all these Vanguard, all these for equities, there are no fees. And that's the way that the centralized exchange should go to. It's a race to zero. So I'm here for it. Well, anything from you?
He is muted. He is confused. All right, he's not. I'll jump in there. I will say, did you guys see the news about ThorChain? And you had Zcash putting forward a proposal about integrating with ThorChain, and then Eric Voorhees chimed in as I'm going to match everything. If your decentralized funding committee wants to fund this, I will match it to make sure that this gets integrated. I can't stress enough how excited I am to see a world where we have cross-chain DEXs that are integrating privacy coins. It's super, super exciting to see all of that move ahead. You've got other privacy coins going down that route too. I'm very interested to see what happens. But I'll throw it back to Will. I believe you are back. No, he's not. Okay, I got fed false information. I just miss Will so much. That's why I just really wanted to go to him. But yeah, Christy, I completely agree with you and everything you're saying here. And George as well. I saw that you got banned from Coinbase, and I was just it made me kind of take pause and be it could happen to any of us. And that should be the way we think about banks that hold our money, whether they're crypto exchanges, whether they're actual banks. You don't have control over your money when it's in these institutions. And that's what makes DEXs so valuable, that you don't ever have to give away control of this. You can use these smart contracts. And it just takes a lot of the risk out of the equation. But Will, I'll throw to you.
Yeah, my 2 cents on the subject is that it's not shocking to see a lot of these DEXs do so well in the age of tokenization. So if we go back and look at Binance's rise in 2018, 2019, a key reason they did so well is because they issued the BNB token, and they also issued burnings on that token. So if you purchased it and BNB had a good month, they would burn their own native supply. That would probably boost the value of your token if you're holding it. And that would incentivize you to use the trading platform more because you get a discount for using that token. A lot of these DEXs have a similar kind of program behind the scenes, and that makes people want to use them. And frankly, the trading fees and all that stuff is getting so simple, especially with L2 solutions, that there's no reason not to use a DEX, especially if you're just getting paid to use it. So to a degree, it just makes sense. That's just why it's happening. Get paid to use
that double-edged sword of you're not only using this to exchange, but you can also earn money from it just by staking and things like this. So if you just have money sitting in savings, you can always think, depending on how much risk you want to take, how much you might want to apportion to sit there and earn some of those fees that the exchange users are sending your way. But let's throw to who is next. George, what's going on in the blockchain world?
Yeah, so it's funny. We sort of hinted at it earlier and talk about blockchain, not Bitcoin narrative. And so my story is less of a story, more of a general observation of the resurgence in the Bitcoin, not blockchain narrative. So there was a little tussle in reaction to a tweet on crypto Twitter this past weekend about how the hiring processes for jobs will all occur on the blockchain eventually. The short of the tweet was, and I thought it was hilarious, you apply for a job, Adapt scans the blockchain, rates your on-chain credentials, and if you exceed a certain rating, boom, you're hired. It's done in 60 seconds. A couple of things came to mind for me immediately. If you guys would just entertain me for a second before we start talking, I would welcome you guys to latch on any of these points. First, this feels eerily like a social credit system that we all shiver at, especially Naomi. I'm sure she's shivering. Second, we sort of already have this. I saw a really good Twitter thread of a computer scientist who just brutalized resume scanning algorithms using nonsensical buzzwords and specific orders, and he was getting to final round interviews while just putting literal nonsense in his resume. And third, I think we are starting to see more instances of the enterprise blockchain crowd enter this world that so spectacularly failed with these big companies like IBM. It just looks like this iteration is masquerading as DLT. I don't know if you guys heard people use that in the corporate world, or distributed ledger technology. Especially with the wild success of Bitcoin and Ethereum these days, I just want to make the point that we should be wary of bad ideas that are trying to sound like good ideas just because there's a blockchain wrapper on it. I started my rant thinking about real estate on the blockchain. It seems like an idea that's just an idea for an idea's sake. So I sound like a big curmudgeon here because I think blockchains are not the answer to everything and are only incredibly useful in situations where a non-permissioned use case is available. So sorry for the long-winded rants. Sounds like we're ending today's show with philosophical talk, but I would love to hear what any of you guys have to say here. Just latch on to any of those points.
Will, why don't you
start? I remember this the first time around. I remember this the first time around a few years ago, 4 years ago, and everything was blockchain this and blockchain that. And we're the first ones to put this on a blockchain. And oh my gosh, I got tired of those pitches. And as far as the social credit thing is concerned, every time I hear about these, I think about lately, there was an episode on Community. I don't know if anyone ever saw that I guess it was a sitcom of sorts. It was a comedy series, and they had this thing called Meow Meow Beans. And it was like this app where you could rate your friends and rate people around the school, and everything was hierarchied. And every time I see that episode, I think that is where we're headed. And I'm pretty sure it was a pretty good commentary on where we might be headed, in a very funny way on the show, of course, but not so funny in real life, in terms of putting people's social ratings on a blockchain. And I think that what we're really hoping to get is some sort of decentralized ID where at least you have you can give permission to the right people in order to access information about you. I think where it's going to get scary, though, is when you're required to share particular bits of information on a decentralized platform in order to access any kind of service. And I hope that we stay away from that. Naomi?
Yeah, there was also a Black Mirror episode about this as well. It took a much darker turn. It was a little bit scary. But this idea that, blockchain versus Bitcoin, I definitely understand it to a certain extent, because you do see a lot of people talking about this technology without any incentivization for participating in it. And I know a lot of people bash altcoins, but altcoins are necessary to power a lot of these systems to actually make this apparatus for decentralizing whatever trust they're trying to decentralize functional. If you have a system and you're just relying on people's goodwill to run nodes and to verify and to maintain the security of the network, I don't see that as being a good option for longevity of that system, which is why you need the crypto underscoring it. But, and then anyone who's ever tried to hire for their company will look at this automated job idea that he had of it all on the blockchain, just be like, this is the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. But anyway, let's wrap it up there for the day. And you guys can stick around, because at 3 p.m. we have All About Bitcoin with Christine Lee. And we've also got the CoinDesk website where you can check out all of the latest news. Tomorrow morning, we will be back at 9 o'clock for First Mover. And then, as always, you can join us on the Hash at 12 o'clock. It's been a great show, and thank you so much for joining us. See you, everyone.